Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my review of Friday the 13th, the final chapter. This is arguably. You guys hear that? It's like a song playing in the background. You guys hear that, don't you? Well, now that we got that out of our system, let's talk about this movie. So, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, tells the story of Jason Voorhees surviving the events of Friday the 13th, Part 3, and heading back to Crystal Lake to invoke some more carnage. And this is the Alright, it's not the final Friday. That's Jason Goes to Hell. But that's not the final one either. But anyway, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is the final version of human Jason that we see up until the 2009 remake. And oh boy, does he go out in a blaze of glory. We're going to talk about my MVP and all the things I normally talk about in these reviews in a moment. But I got to tell you guys right off the bat, this is probably going to be a straight up love fest for this movie. Because not only do I think this is one of, if not, I'll save it for the ranking, the best Friday the 13th movie, but I think it's the quintessential slasher movie. And maybe the most quintessential slasher movie ever put on film. That's how good this fucking movie is as far as slasher movies go. So much to talk about this. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to switch screens here and we're going to go right into what we usually talk about with these. We're going to go over my MVP and LVP, most valuable person, least valuable persons for this movie, best and worst scene, scariest scene, unsung hero, someone who I think is integral to this movie's success and doesn't, get the credit they probably deserve. Funniest moment, dumbest moment, best Jason moment, and holy fuck are there a lot of them in this movie. And then I'm going to rate this movie, and we'll get out of here. That being said, tell me down in the comments, are you guys a fan of Friday the 13th, the final chapter? Do you think it's the best in the franchise? Top 3? What are your guys' thoughts on it? I'd love to hear your opinions, so please tell me down in the comments. Alright, before we get into the MVP, what we need to talk about is what we usually talk about in my reviews, because you guys know how I do it, a little bit unique. But we're going to talk about the characters, so let's bring them up here. The characters in this movie are fantastic. It's probably the only time, with the possible exception of Part 2, but it's probably the only time they really nailed believable characters. So right up the top here, we got the group of kids who are camping essentially at the cabin in the woods by Crystal Lake, and all of these characters, you believe that they are friends. A lot of times in these Friday movies, and it got really bad in the later ones, but a lot of times in these Friday movies, you just got your stereotypes. Your token jock, your token slut, your token nerdy girl. And in some respects, this movie has that, but you believe they're all friends, they have great chemistry, and you actually care about each and every one of these kids that are camping in the cabin here. In addition to that, you got the Jarvis family next door. The one big wrinkle that kind of separates this movie from all the other Token Friday movies and all the other Token Friday characters. You got Mrs. Jarvis, we're going to talk about in a bit, but you got Mrs. Jarvis and then her two kids, Trish and Tommy. Tommy obviously played by Corey Feldman, and he becomes essentially his own Crystal Lake legend as he's in the next two Friday movies. And you got kind of 3 different versions of Tommy Jarvis in this franchise, and he's kind of got his own little trilogy there. He becomes Jason's chief rival, his, Dr. Loomis or Laurie Strode or however you want to compare it to. Tommy Jarvis is Jason's rival, and here we see him as a young boy, and that brings added stakes. Seeing a child versus Jason, it brings added stakes to this movie. There's a lot of other things that bring added stakes, but for me, at its core, seeing a child battle Jason, who essentially has the brain of a child himself, was really genius, and Corey Feldman does a great job. Trish, his sister, is a very underrated final girl in my opinion. She has a great final chase and final showdown with Jason, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And then, of course, down below them, I had to put a picture of the Doublemint twins, didn't I? You know, you had to. It goes without saying. You don't think of this movie without thinking of Doublemint gum, right? But yeah, the characters in this movie are superb, and it's one of the things that I think modern horror movies have really gotten away from, and that is, you know, making you care about the characters. So many modern horror movies, you know, and you just want to see the kids get killed. And yes, you do in this movie, but you still care when they die. And there's so many modern horror movies that, you know, just gives us a bunch of assholes, right? So we can see them get grossed out or get them killed in gross out ways, and we can cheer, right? And you're cheering because, oh man, that was cool. But you don't feel it because you're not invested in those characters. And in Friday 4, you're really invested in these characters. And that hits you on more of an emotional level as opposed to just, you know, oh man, that was awesome. Like, it's like, ooh, it's almost like a gut punch, you know? So I really enjoy the characters in this movie. And, you know, it's funny, in all three of the main slasher movies and slasher sequels, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, you know, some of the best sequels in those movies have some of the best characters, and that's not a coincidence. So for me, the characters in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, really are one of the main reasons it stands out, because you're invested in them and you care. We're going to talk about Jason at the end because there's a lot to talk about with Jason. But other than that, that's kind of the main characters. We also get some characters at the morgue, and Axel and whatever the nurse's name is. We're going to talk about them in a moment as well. But those are pretty much our main players in this movie. So, that being said, let's get right into the MVP of this movie. For me, the MVP of this movie might be a controversial pick here. It's Joseph Zito, the director. It'd be easy to say Ted White. I would not argue with that. Ted White is a great Jason. But for me, Zito's direction in this movie really, really is excellent. It's a very darker movie. And I mean that in tone of the movie, and then also kind of the visual aesthetic of the movie. You know, it's nighttime, and it feels like you're at night. You know, kind of more like the original, as opposed to coming off of part 3 when everything was in 3D. You know, they had to have unnatural lighting because that's just how the 3D effects works. Well, with here, you know, Zito really goes to this dark, moodier atmosphere of this movie, and his direction really just ups the creep factor for me. And like, you know, I've said this a bunch of times, but it really helps make the movie stand out from all the other cookie cutter versions we get in this franchise. And Joseph Zito, who is coming off The Prowler, I think came out in '81, so a few years before that. Another really good slasher movie, by the way. You should check that out if you haven't seen it. But Joseph Zito does a great job. Now, you might not choose Joseph Zito as your MVP because there was a little controversy in this movie involving the character of Samantha being in the lake, you know, mostly naked at night in, you know, freezing temperatures, and Zito was pushing her to get the scene done, and Ted White almost walked off the set. You know, I don't want to say I'm overlooking that because that is important. Actor safety is important. But, you know, Zito's under a lot of pressure from the studio and all kinds of things. It's not always apples to apples. And I'm going to kind of overlook that just because he did such a great job in, you know, just the direction of this movie with that, you know, little minor hiccup behind the scenes excluded. So, Zito, you are the MVP for me. We never got another Friday movie like this, and we probably never will. And I think a lot of that, you know, falls on the shoulders of Joseph Zito. I think he did a great job. All right, LVP. Let me get rid of Zito here. LVP. It's fucking Rob. God. This character fucking sucks, guys. I know he has his fans. I know he does. He's fucking useless. He is absolutely useless. He comes for a little bit of an exposition dump. You know, he's got these pictures of Jason, which I don't know how the fuck he has, because this movie is, you know, days after part 2 when his sister, Sandra, who is shish kebabbed in the bed with Jeff in part 2, he is her brother. And he's looking for Jason because Jason killed his sister. A lot of potential there. That is an interesting storyline. A guy, hunting Jason. We see it later on in part 6 with Tommy, right? Executed a lot better than this. But he's fucking useless. He kind of shows up when Tommy and Trish's car break down, helps him out with his knife to get it started, and then Tommy develops some kind of weird man crush on him, brings him up to his room, shows him masks and shit, and then, he asks if anyone's hunting bears, blah, 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 and then Trish goes in his tent, finds some stuff, and what the hell are you doing here, or whatever, and then he kind of helps Trish, and then he gets killed. And we're going to talk about his death later on, because that's a whole nother topic. But I think Rob's a useless character. And the reason he's the LVP for me is all the potential wasted. And this actor, I could take or leave his performance here. So Rob, you are my LVP. They should have done more with his character. All right, best scene. We're actually going to play the best scene here. And it is, for me, the climax of this movie. And that is, the way Jason is defeated. I'm going to play it in a second, and I'm going to be pausing it at certain points for a couple of reasons. Number one, just to talk about it, talk about what we're seeing on screen. And number two, YouTube will shut me the fuck down. But the climax of this movie is so good, I just wanted to play it and kind of break it down. So, without further ado, let's break this down a little bit. So let's set the stage here. Trish had just got done, essentially escaping Jason over in the house that the kids were renting. And she dove out the window. Cool stunt, by the way. After Gordon, the dog, jumped out the window. And she's kind of walking back home, stunned. The door's broken, which we'll talk about a little later as well. And she's kind of coming back to the house. She already told Tommy to leave. And she's just kind of stunned here. So, she's back. Couple of things here. Number one, you can see Jason slowly emerging in our view right there. But look at the rain coming down. Look how moody that is. With the rain, the darkness, Jason lurking. It's so good. Look at that right there. Jason behind her, and she kind of senses it. Love that. His mask kind of appears in the light, and she takes a swing at it. Misses. Then we cut to Tommy cutting his hair. Look at this cat and mouse game right here. Jason is not fucking scared of her. She just fucked him up a little bit. She's got the machete. But look at Jason, just like he's a towering presence here. Ooh, look at that effect. Look at that. Pause it for a second. Ooh, that is fucking nasty. That is nasty shit right there. Look at the makeup on Jason. His skin is like gray. It's good shit.
Get the hell out of here! Now! You son of a bitch.
I love this though. I'll give you something to remember us by.
I'm gonna give you something to remember us by.
Look at that. Look at that right there. Hits him and he knocks the light over. And look at, like in another movie, this is what I'm talking about with Zito. In another movie, you would see some more light here, but it is dark. This is pretty haunting stuff if you're in Trish's shoes. There's no way she can overpower Jason. He is a fucking monster at this point, and he's just on top of her, and she's just doing what she can. Punching, kicking, screaming, doing whatever she can. So good. I mean, this is some creepy shit right here. This is terrifying. There we go.
Jason! Jason!
Love that. Jason! Like, oh, that's so good. And look how fucked up. Like, that is how your head would look if you were trying to shave it like that, especially as a kid. Uh, it's pretty good. I love that Jason's kind of drawn to someone saying his name. You know, Tommy saying his name, he's drawn to it. Because remember, Jason is a child. Jason is a child himself here in his head. You know, there's that psychology again, like with Ginny in part 2. Look at that. Look at the lighting here. You can just barely make out his mask. It is pitch black all around him. That is so fucking good. Tommy's lit up. A lot of light on Tommy, but not any on Jason. That is extremely important because it really, you know, like I know the money shot is Jason's mask, but you can kind of make out his mask there. But everything else is, you know, bathed in darkness, which is a great creative choice. Great job by the DP along with Zito. And look at the mask slowly appearing kind of from the darkness, kind of like, you know, the OG Halloween in some aspects there. Yeah, Tommy playing the Ginny mind games here. Just kind of zooming in on Tommy and Jason. You know, you're looking at that from Jason's point of view. Like, you know, does he think that's himself? Does he think this kid is him? You know, with Jason's mind, you know, it seems absurd, right? But Jason's mind never developed. Love how they're using that. And look at the mask. Look at just a little bit of light only on the mask. That's excellent. Again, kind of tilting his head, trying to understand. Once again, back to part 2. That's exactly what he did in part 2. He wasn't wearing the hockey mask, obviously. He was wearing the, you know, the burlap sack or whatever the hell it is. But he was tilting his head when Ginny was pretending to be his mom. Remember that? He's confused. Now Trish is gonna pick up the machete here. Get the money shot. Look at this, is so good. Oh, mass to the ground. That's a cool money shot. Watching that mess in slow motion hit the ground. Look at how fucking grotesque he is here. My God, he is like a monster. He is an absolute monster. We're gonna keep going so we can see this. Great effect that's about to happen here. Yep, that is a real reaction that Trish would have. You know, look at all the blood on that machete. That's good. Look at all the blood on there. Like, that is not CG blood. That is fucking practical effects there. You know, we see so much CG blood nowadays that it's you kind of become numb to it. But look at that, blood has a thickness to it on the machete. It's just a minor little detail, but it's effective. Ready? Here it comes. Boom. Oh, God. Look at it. That's like kind of half right under his eye. You know, you got the blood flowing already. And then we're going to get the shot here. Oh, look at that. Look at that slide down. My God. Oh. Yeah, Trish, I'm with you. Yeah, so for me, that is the best scene, the climax scene. It's a culmination of not only everything we've seen in this movie, but of everything we've seen so far in the franchise. You know, Jason is not coming back from that. I mean, it does. The only way to come back from that is, you know, lightning, like they did, you know, turning into a zombie. Human Jason, a human cannot survive that. Might be able to survive an axe to the head. Doubtful, but still, I can wrap my brain around that, you know. But having your head slide down a machete, cut in half, sideways, you ain't coming back from that. And that's just such a fucking good scene. Such a good scene. All right, let's get to the worst scene. My worst scene is Mama Jarvis's quote-unquote demise. Okay, where's my picture for this? Sorry. Did I not bring a picture for this? Yeah, I did not, it appears. I thought I had it. Guess I didn't. Anyway, so my worst scene is Mrs. Jarvis and her quote-unquote demise. Essentially, she's walking outside in the rain. The rain and shit is cool, right? She's walking outside in the rain, and all of a sudden she turns around and has just some shocked look on her face. Here it is. She has a shocked look on her face, and the camera kind of cuts to black. And that's it. There's no payoff. Like all these brutal kills we have throughout the movie, and he's attacking a kid, and you're not going to show the mom die. Like, and yes, we're supposed to assume she died because I know there's a extra footage that we didn't get of her like in a bathtub at the end of the movie. Trish finds her body in a bathtub or some shit, some final scare, which I'm glad they didn't do. But for me, the worst scene is this scene. The fact that we just get her facial expression like that, and then cut to black. So, Mama Jarvis, you're the worst scene. All right, let's talk about scariest scene. For me, the scariest scene in this movie, and there is a lot. I'm going with the hospital stuff, and I put hospital stuff. It's really kind of the morgue, I know. But a couple of things here. Number one, you got Axel and, like I said, the nurse, and Jason's body gets put in there, and Axel's making all these rude comments, and eating and putting a sandwich on top of Jason's body, and watching all this like exercise porn or some shit while Jason's body is laying next to him or laying in the freezer next to him. But this is some scary shit because we as an audience, we know Jason's gonna wake up at some point, right? That's why they're showing us this. But look at this top picture here. This is the nurse walking into where Axel's working, and you can see the TV is illuminating and the light at the desk is illuminating, but it's pitch black everywhere else. That is some creepy shit. And they flirt and make out, and Jason's hand moves, and etc. And then she leaves, and then Axel's sitting there watching his stuff, and I love the little effect where you can see like Jason's breath at one point in there. Like that is a nice little subtle effect. But Jason makes up and gives Axel a brutal fucking kill, and then we see the nurse back in some I don't know, some storage room or something, and Jason comes in and just slices her. Like the whole atmosphere of this hospital, and maybe it's because I personally don't like hospitals, Halloween 2, Nightmare 3, and the atmosphere in Friday 4's hospital is extremely similar, where it must be the 80s, right? But it's just some creepy shit. And I love all the hospital stuff. It's a great reintroduction to Jason, and and kind of an introduction into how dark, like I said, figuratively and tonally, this movie is going to be. So I really like all that hospital stuff. All right, let's get to the unsung hero, someone that, in my opinion, deserves more credit than they get for this movie. And for me, that is Tom Savini. Now. Let me find my picture of Savini here. For me, look, I don't think Savini is unsung for this franchise. But every time you hear Savini mentioned, most people talk about the original, and rightly so, right? Those effects were state-of-the-art, especially back then. But I don't think he gets enough credit for the kills, except for maybe Jason's, in this movie. Jason's kill, which we just watched, Savini I think gets credit for. But all the other kills, think about all the other kills, how brutal they are in this movie. And that is Savini. You got Axel's kill, where he gets the hacksaw to the neck and his neck turned around. The nurse I was just mentioning, she basically gets cut with a small knife from sternum down to stomach. I have trouble watching that. You got Samantha in the lake, who gets knifed through the bottom. You got the dude, Paul, her boyfriend, I think his name's Paul, who gets the spear gun to the balls. You got Crispin Glover with the cleaver to the face after the corkscrew to the hand. You got all kinds of shit. Oh, the dude in the bath, in the shower. Jason's basically smashing his head against that tile wall. That is all brutal, and that is all Savini. Savini famously said, "I created the monster. Now I get to kill the monster." Well, he fucking did a superb job throughout this movie, and it's something that I wish some of the later Fridays we got effects like this. And I know there's reasons for that. Mainly the MPAA was on this franchise's ass, but still, this movie stands out for me a lot for the gore, and that's Tom Savini. All right, funniest moment. Funniest moment for me is, it's what I played at the beginning. It's the Crispin dance. I mean, let's watch it again here. That's so ridiculous, and that is only what Crispin Glover can bring to the table. I know there was a different song playing and all kinds of shit, and even the cast was laughing their asses off, but it has become kind of the stuff of Friday legend for a reason, and it's hilarious to me. I was going to pick the banana hitchhiker, squeezing the banana as she gets killed, stabbed in the neck, but I can't go anything over Crispin Glover's dance there. All right, dumbest moment for me is... Dumbest moment for me? He's killing me! Dear Lord. Dear Lord. This is Rob's death. You guys already know I chose Rob as the LVP. Didn't talk about his death yet because I want to save it for dumbest moment. A character that they build up as this badass who is hunting Jason, walks down to a basement, and Jason starts killing him, right? He literally starts yelling over and over, "He's killing me! He's killing me!" Are you fucking kidding me? That is dumb as shit. Easiest decision of this whole list for me, as on any of these categories, was dumbest moment, and that's how dumb this was. Rob, you suck, man. You suck. Once again, just wasted potential. Just wasted potential. All right, best Jason moment. Look, there are a lot of good Jason moments in this movie. Me personally, I usually will choose some type of subtle moment, some type of slow burn type creepy atmosphere where he is, stalking someone or something cool in the background. But for me, the best Jason moment is his door smash. Look, I went with this badass moment here when he just busts through this fucking door. Ted White is awesome in this movie as Jason. Awesome. He's my second favorite Jason behind Richard Brooker. I don't think anyone's done it better since Ted White, although Derek Mears is pretty good. But this moment here when Trish is this is after he kills Rob. Trish is, locking the door, pounding the windows. Jason comes through the window at Tommy, and Trish puts the back of the hammer in his neck, and then they start getting away from the window, and Jason literally just fucking busts through this door. It's become kind of a famous gif these days, but this is just a badass Jason moment. And then he throws the hammer. It's just badass. It's like, holy shit. This is not some hollow wood door. They are in the woods. This is like solid oak. And he just busts through it like it's fucking nothing. So awesome Jason moment. Just off the top of my head, some honorable mentions, because I feel like I haven't talked about Jason enough, would be, there's a creepy moment when he kills one of the twins, and it's illuminated by the lightning when he just stabs her in the back, and all you do is see a silhouette there. That is fucking good shit. That's Zito again, and the DP again. That is so great. Smashing, killing the other twins, throwing her through the window, the corkscrew moment. There's so many good Jason moments, and this whole final chase between Trish and Jason, and Tommy's obviously involved in there too, is great. But for me, it's kind of the somewhat in the beginning here where he just smashes through that door is the best Jason moment. All right, let's rate this bitch, guys. For me, I tell you guys all the time, I'm a hard grader. I'm not going to give a movie a 10 out of a 10. But for me, this movie gets a 9.5 out of 10. We'll find out if it's my favorite in the franchise. Right now, I think the 9.5 has tied with Part 2 for me in my highest graded so far. And we'll see which one of those get on top, because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be going through the rest of this franchise, and I don't think any of the other sequels are going to be as high as this. I can almost guarantee it. But for me, like I said, this isn't just a quintessential Friday the 13th movie. This is a quintessential slasher movie. It has everything from great characters like I touched upon at the beginning, a great Jason and Ted White, Tom Savini, and then Joseph Zito's awesome directing. So for me, it really, we'll see where it ends up on my ranking, but for me, it does not get any better than Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Tell me what you guys think down below. If you feel like giving me your MVPs and all that stuff, feel free to put that in the comments, or just rate the movie for me. Tell me if you're a big fan. Where does Ted White rank on your list? Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.